Today we have something special for you. Instead of unscripted gameplay content, we have a Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 video. But this is no ordinary theme park. This is the Gauntlet of Death. Fun. Today's special visitors? Why, it's none other than the crew from Minecraft Cubed. Yes, this is Minecraft Cubed takes on the Death Park. The gauntlet will not be easy. Once it has begun, guests cannot leave until they've completed the gauntlet. They must survive 10 rides, and after doing so, the guests then can leave. This gauntlet will test their motivation, toughness, and camaraderie. Here we are at the beginning of the gauntlet. Here we see the 6 brave warriors who will be taking on today's challenge. That is, after I changed their ride preferences because they wouldn't get on any rides. Their first challenge? The spin cycle. The 6 of them board the car, with Matthew and Feretta taking the front seat, spurring on those fanfictions. Behind them, Grant and Liam, who I am indeed shipping. Ariel will need that fanfiction on my desk by 5. Bringing up the rear are Ariel and Coon. As they headed up the lift, their faces distorted horribly, and Liam was already scared, like a little bitch. Then the realization of what they were about to go through set in, and then they all started screaming. Then the car began to head back down the hill, and the spin cycle had begun. However, all 6 made it without feeling sick, and their first challenge was complete. The crew then proceeded down the fenced-in pathway to their next challenge, that Get Off My Back coaster from that shitty RCT3 Cool Things video I made. As they boarded the ride, Grant and Liam both mentioned that they hoped the coaster was well maintained. Well, they were about to find out the hard way. After ascending the lift hill, the coaster then plummeted back down before hitting the holding brake and throwing itself off the track, hurling the crew into the first of several playpins. Amazingly, Feretta managed to clear the fence and was free of the gauntlet. That is, until I picked her up and put her back in. No escape for you. It was at this point I became annoyed with the constant messages about mechanics, so I hired a few of them and placed them around all 10 stages of the gauntlet. It was at this point that the 6 of them regrouped, and realized they couldn't leave unless they were like Feretta and magically gained the ability to fly, but that won't be happening. They then realized that if they were to leave, they have to board the next ride. The bridge over the waterfall is totally still there. Railroad. The train ascended the mountain, taking our guests up to the top. As they reached the top, a totally not surprising at all realization happened. The bridge was out! The train derailed and exploded, launching Grant and Ariel down the waterfall into the lake below. However, it's probably a good thing the bridge was out because the tracks lead to a pit of spikes anyways, so pick your poison. The others were more fortunate, managing to stay up top until I picked them up and threw them off the waterfall. After that, I decided to be a generous god and rescue them, but the path ahead would be tough. The 6 of them then proceeded down the pathway with their next challenge looming in the foreground. It was at this point Liam experienced the duplicitous nature of the gauntlet, wishing to go home whilst also admiring the tidiness of the park. It truly was a roller coaster of emotion. Am I right? Yeah? Anyways, the path truly tested the guests, with Grant and Feretta actually wishing they were on another ride and not the path itself. Finally, they reached the next destination, but not before posing to take a group photo for some reason. It was at this point they noticed something beautiful. Free balloons! As the group rejoiced in this oasis, somewhere on the other side of the park, something was happening. After surviving the attack from the 100-mile-per-hour air-powered coaster, the group would move on to the next obstacle. Not at all a fake. But not before I popped their balloons. We don't get to have nice things around here. It was here that they had a glimmer of hope. This looked like an actual ride and wouldn't crash. Surely things were looking up. However, upon boarding, they were met with an unpleasant surprise. Once again, Feretta demonstrated her ability to fly, launching herself out of the pit and separating herself from the group. But we put a stop to that right away. Then I decided I would reward them with free burgers in a moment of kindness, and not because the next ride was perilously close to a lion pit. They ascended the stairway to the next ride, the "this was supposed to throw you into the lion pit" coaster. It's called that because in testing, nobody landed it in the lion pit. However, Coon was the only one who landed in the right place, with Grant even landing on the coaster. After rescuing Ariel, Liam, Feretta, and Matthew from the pit of lions, they moved on to the next challenge, the "this actually dumps you into the lion pit" coaster. The ride started off well, but as the coaster ascended the rotating tower, the track dumped them right back into the lion pit. Once again, the crew ran for their lives before being rescued, but this time the only thing that lay ahead of them was a tunnel. Was it a tunnel to freedom? The answer is no, but it was at this point that Ariel said she thought Lori the lion was ugly. Not a smart move, Ariel, considering you've had to be rescued from the lion pit twice now. Would hate to see you go back a third time. We've now reached the 8th trial, simply titled Prepare to Launch. By now the group was growing weary, but the finish was in sight. Just 3 more rides, and they could go home. As their train was towed backwards up the lift hill, they feared what was next. Then they started cheering for some reason. Not really sure what's up with these people. Then they dropped down, launched off the ramp at the end, and miraculously all landed in the next playpen, with Feretta surprisingly not flying to freedom. After suffering an explosion to the face, the group rejoiced and took pride in the fact that they had made it this far. However, what lay ahead would truly test them. Challenge number 9. Inspired by the infamous Mr. Bones Wild Ride, the Minecraft Cubed crew would have to endure Mr. Cat's Less Wild Ride. This challenge would truly test their patience and determination, as they would be forced to endure a 5-mile-per-hour ride around boring, twisting track with no scenery to look at. After completing the first line, the horror of what lay ahead truly began to sink in. But they pressed on, fighting off not only sleep, but the urge to give up. They all yearned to get off Mr. Cat's Wild Ride, and after an excruciating amount of time, their wishes were granted. Thus, the 9th challenge was complete. But for once, things were actually looking up, because as they approached the final trial, they realized it would be a simple tram ride. After what they had been through, the crew rejoiced. Aboard the exit tram, they remembered the horrors of what they had been through, being spun around rapidly, thrown off a track, launched down a waterfall, hit by an air-powered coaster, had their balloons popped, been dropped into a pit, thrown into a lion pit twice, launched through the air several times, and endured Mr. Cat's Less Wild Ride. And then when the tram inevitably crashed and exploded, this caught them off guard even more than usual. But alas, the gauntlet was complete. They had done it. They survived 10 grueling trials, and it brought them together even closer. It tested their patience, their wit, their determination, and it taught Ariel not to call lions ugly because she will find her way back into the lion pit again. And thus, as they passed through the exit, they could rejoice. Oh, they went back in again. Well, time to do it all over again.